So you decided that you already want to save, you've already got an emergency fund set up, you go Glen Coco, and you want to figure out what to do with the excess money that you end up saving. Well, I'm here to tell you that you need an ISA. And if your response is, what the hell is an ISA? Stick around, find out. Okay, we've got a lot of info to get through this week, so let's keep things fairly simple. I'll try not to muck around as much. Well, maybe a little bit. An ISA, or an individual savings account, is essentially a system that's set up by the UK government as a means for everyday people like you and I to save on a regular basis. If you decide to open up an ISA, spoiler alert, you probably should. In return, you get a plethora of benefits. Benefits? Tell me more. Well, if you choose to open up an ISA, any money you place in that account, you never pay tax on. If we're talking about official terminology here, the ISA is known as a tax-efficient wrapper. Well, this all sounds well and good, but be real with me, what's the catch? Well, one of the big ones is that you can only put in £20,000 within each tax year into your ISA. Tax year being the 6th of April to the 5th of April the year after. That said, this allowance is subject to change. For the next tax year, 21-22, it will stay at 20k, but it could potentially go up and down thereafter. For most of us, that 20k limit is ridiculous, and we will never reach that in the tax year anyway. So in that regard, the allowance is actually quite generous. The ISA allowance operates on a use it or lose it policy. So any remaining allowance that you have in a tax year can't be transferred over to future tax years. So for the love of all that's warm and cuddly, don't waste your allowance. If you can afford to save money in your ISA, please do so. Right, now that we've got that out of the way, I'm going to run through the 5 different ISA types that you can put your money in, and I'll give my opinion on each of them as well. Wait, did you say 5? Yeah. Unfortunately, there's 5 different ISA accounts that you can split your 20k allowance across. Why can this stuff never be simple, eh? Don't worry, we're going to go through it and I'm going to give you the cliff notes. Okay, so first up is cash ISA. This is by far and away the most popular ISA type. It's basically the same as a standard savings account. You know, the kinds that you open up with your bank. Like a standard savings account, your cash ISA could be fixed term, i.e. it's locked away for a pre-agreed amount of time, or it could be instant access. You are then paid interest in return for saving with this provider. The difference with a standard account and a cash ISA is that you never pay tax on any interest that you gain in that account. Now, I'm personally of the belief that cash ISAs are rubbish. Why? Because most of us don't save enough to benefit from not being taxed on interest anyway. Let's break it down. If you're a basic taxpayer, you don't have to pay tax on the first £1,000 of interest that you gain in the tax year. I had a little bit of a look online, and the best cash ISA rate at the moment is 0.06%. I know, it's ridiculous. But at that rate, you'd have to save over £150,000 to be eligible to be taxed on your interest. So my key takeaway is cash ISAs are not worth it. Use your ISA allowance somewhere else, somewhere that's more productive. Okay, so next up is Innovative Finance ISA. This is actually an interesting one. Innovative Finance ISA allows you to invest in peer-to-peer lending. Now, peer-to-peer lending is a system that allows companies and individuals who don't have a good credit score to borrow money. It's typically beneficial for people who have really bad credit scores because instead of borrowing from the bank, they borrow from you directly. And in return, they pay interest to you. Like a cash ISA, any interest you gain in these accounts is free from tax. Now, before you go and rush to open up your Innovative Finance ISA, there's probably a few things you should be wary of. The biggest thing is you're effectively lending your money to people who have really bad credit scores, and there's a real risk that they can default on their loans. There's ways of overcoming this, however you need to do your due diligence and your own research before investing. I'll be real here, the next was actually my favourite of the bunch. A stocks and shares ISA is an account that allows you to invest in individual companies, bonds and funds. If you've heard that and you're like, what the hell is he on about? We'll get into that in a future video. But for now, all you need to know is that these are accounts that allow you to invest in individual companies or assets. So what's the benefit of investing in a stocks and shares ISA? Well, the big benefits are that you don't pay any dividend tax or capital gains tax. That's right, you don't pay any tax on any dividends that companies pay you for holding their shares or if the value of your investments goes up. It's probably worth mentioning that, like tax on interest, the government already provides generous allowances on dividends and capital gains outside of your ISA. However, in the long term, you're more likely to have to pay on these, so this benefit is huge. Trust me on this, we're going to go through all the details in a future video, but for now, myself and other finance nerds strongly believe that a stocks and shares ISA is the secret sauce that you need for long-term wealth. Final point to this, there's always a risk in investing. The value of your investments can go down as well as up, so please bear that in mind. Lifetime ISAs, or LISAs, are accounts where you can save up to 4K of the 20K annual allowance. Within this account, the government will top up 25% of whatever you put in. So, for example, if you put in £1,000 into your LISA in a given tax year, the government will top that up by £250. So this seems like a sweet deal. What's the catch? Well, the money you put in your LISA is effectively locked. You can only access it if you're looking to buy your first home or if you've reached the age of 60. If you try and take back that money for any other reason, the government will come in and take back that bonus, and they'll slap on a penalty on top. Though this penalty has been removed until April 2021 because of COVID. Also, you can only pay into your LISA between the ages of 18 and 50. Finally, we have Help to Buy ISA. I'll keep this one relatively short because it's actually closed for new applicants. If you're one of the chosen few who've opened up your account before 30th of November 2019, you can place up to £200 a month into this Help to Buy ISA and put that towards buying your first home. If you choose to do so, the government will top up anything you put in by 25%. If you've come out of this and you're like, Jay, and you've just given me so much information, I have no idea which accounts to put my money in, what do I do? Well, just choose out of the 5, well technically 4, and put your money in there. Simple as. Which one you choose depends on what you're saving for and when you'll need the money. For example, if you need the money fairly soonish, let's say within the next 5 years, then cash ISA is probably your best bet. Alternatively, if you're looking to put the money away towards a deposit on your first house, then a LISA or a Help to Buy ISA is probably a better shout. Alternatively, if you're looking to build up a pot that you can use for retirement, then a stocks and shares ISA is the creme de la creme here. Don't worry, we'll go through all of this in a future video. Whoa, that's a lot of talking. Okay, that's probably all we have time for this week. I hope that's been useful. If you have any questions, leave them down below. I'll try and help out as much as I can. If you enjoyed this video, please like it. If you want to see more like this, subscribe down below. This has been Jayan. Hustling, teaching people about ISAs, going through the nitty gritty, trying to make people better with money. See you next week.